Principle of all the styles on the planet, for what I've seen in Asia and all over the world, that they all try to copy nature. So as I worked a lot in Asia, I was doing a lot of trees for a lot of famous masters in Taiwan, Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam. I started to realize that I was like a craftsman. I was doing like trees, like a factory. Because every time I was trying to be creative in some trees, I was trying to make a different branch or different fronts, or so changing the rules, thinking out of the box. They were cutting what I was doing to be back to the same triangles, whether it's the shakan, moyogi, or whatever. Mm-hmm. The only style I believe in Japanese rules is more permissive is the bunjin, because the only rule is that you don't have to have branches from two-thirds of the trunk, right. But except that you can be very creative. But it's very limited because you don't have much branch in a bunjin. So then, doing that, I started to realize that I was not an artist. And all my life I heard bonsai was an art. But if you do the same things all the time, it becomes a craft. So I started to try to imagine trees growing on other planets. So to be creative, I had to go to another planet, trying to imagine new kind of gravity, new kind of ground, or like kind of tree that have the ability to grow on a volcano or to grow on the ice, for example. That it doesn't have the same way to use the elements on their own planet. So then you can start to make the trees with different structures that just you have in your mind. So it becomes abstract, but at the same time, you believe that maybe in some other planets in the galaxy, in different galaxies, they can grow that way. That's how the height of cosmic. So then, because every time I was doing the tree the way I was doing growing on another planet, they say it doesn't look natural. And to me, bonsai natural is an oxymoron, because bonsai is 100% artificial, done by the man, controlled by the man. So the real trees, they say sometimes to me, there's natural bonsai, but they grow in the rock. Yeah, but the rock is natural. You know, nobody dig it, put it in a pot, you use a ceramic, you know. So when I started to do that, I realized that people continue to say that's not Japanese because they are really fanatics and they want to live in dogma. And I say, yes, but I'm not concerned about Japanese rules because I created my style going on other planets. So the only rule I have is that you have to find yourself, your own starship, your own planet, and grow the tree you want with your personal structures. I have not really welcome in the bonsai world, you know. For example, in Europe, I'm almost forbidden for 20 years exhibiting. While I was doing traditional Japanese bonsai, I was one of the most famous masters in Europe. But since I started to do the cosmic bonsai, they hate me. They hated me because I changed the rules, and they felt offended, like if I was, betraying the Japanese traditions. And I told them I have a huge respect for Japanese traditions because I'm coming from it. And you don't have to feel offended because we are not Japanese. My mind. And to be honest, since I go to the cosmic bonsai, I have a huge Japanese culture first, and also American culture, because when I was young, I was reading a lot of comics. So I was fan about Marvel's superheroes, for example, and many heroes are living in another galaxy, like Galactus, etc. So I also use Star Trek, a lot of sci-fi, to be honest, a lot of American culture, but like Star Wars also. So more I visit my own planets in my mind, more I create new structures. Actually, I use a lot of twisted branches because that was the first way to me to use long branches to get out of the box. But actually, I'm doing spiral structures, angle structures. So I try to imaginate a lot of different structures from different planets. So then it brings you to new kind of pots, new kind of pictures behind, new stories. The Japanese, they use the tokonoma as a story. Right. They tell a story of spring, they tell a story of mountain. Most part of the time it's a nature story. So my stories, as it is in another galaxy, it's more like a sci-fi story. I could also use it for critical, social critical or political critical. So that's why they changed the rules, because they say we accept your trees, but you have to put your tree inside a Japanese pot on a Japanese table with Japanese crown. Quality. Yeah. So to me, The bonsai, we discussed about that with Rob, that is still the center point. So that's very cool to see a lot of creative things without the center point with the tree. But to me, it should be that first touch the structure of the tree, make it perfect, and then you can play with the display and tell the story you want. As the Japanese have to be mature, good trunk, good nebari, but crazy branches, and something that when you look at it, you can't say it's coming from nature. The best compliment to me is the opposite. The traditionalist, they say it doesn't look natural. It's the best compliment you can do, because I tell them, yeah, it's not natural on Earth, but it's natural on my planet. So if I think about that, I'm going to probably do like trees with more angle branches, just like the ice do naturally. And then I'm going to make a pot that symbolizes an iceberg or something like that, because I try to use my imagination to be coherent with the elements where the tree is living in another planet. To be honest, I quit the professional bonsai work. I announced it in February because you have to understand that I do bonsai for 40 years. I started much faster when I was in 1987. And I've been in Asia to improve my skill all the time. And since I do cosmic bonsai, I had a lot of troubles. I can't make money. They impeach me to work. They say to not buy my book. So traditionalists are very fanatics. I mean, in a way of like Talibans,
Sure.
really rude. No, but I'm not kidding. People don't understand that, but it's really rude. So I can't make money. Insulted all the time. People don't want to understand my work. It's not that they don't understand my work, it's that they don't want. Because if you want to critique me, you have to read my books, you have to make this kind of interview, and you have to let me talk. So if you impeach me to talk, so you impeach me to expose, as an artist, what can I do? I have to disappear. So, and especially mentally, psychologically, for me, as I'm sensible and emotional, like every artist, it starts to be a big weight on my shoulders.
Sure.
I'm going to be 52. So when I was 30, I was very motivated, and I wanted to hit the world, But now I'm tired. I just want to have respect and love, and I don't have it in the bonsai world community. So I quit. So the bonsai my style will continue living, but with Mike Len, with Evan Pardo, with the people, Julian Tsai, with the people in America, because actually America is the only country that accept my style. In Europe, there are more Japanese than the Japanese. Bald cypress.
Okay.
They do the flat top.
They do flat
because
top.
they try to copy the nature the way it is. If I look at all the bonsai I see, even the one in the modern display, they all look like Japanese, with more or less good quality, but they all copy Japanese. Because we had this conversation also with Lo. Consider that it's not because your branches are twisty that it's not natural. And he showed in his book that I have for years that there is a lot of twisty branch in nature.
Right.
The difference is that with me, my structures, that I do branches that are crossing the trunk, crossing the canopy, what is impossible in nature. Because you can have curly branch, but they always look like a fractal system from the inside to the outside because they need the light.
Right.
But as I work with the long branches, I can take the branch, cross the trunk, cross the canopy, go back under to the trunk, what is impossible in nature. But you need to be a silviculture. You need to have a lot of knowledge because people don't see the movement in my trees, and they just say it's like walking sticks. The walking sticks same. It's just like a pigtail. They repeat the same fractal system all the time, from the inside to the outside. My trees are much more complex than what people think. It takes years to make it.
Still
Not
modeling
really.
nature. You don't
even
think so?
even if you look at them in Vietnam, they have different paths for junipers, for example, and they are more like straight and a little bit more poetic, less rude than Japanese do. Japanese bonsai are pretty rude. They are very compact, very strong, except for the bunjin again. But even if the Indonesian are smoothly different, a little different, it's probably because of the spaces. Because they have to adapt. I know because I worked a lot of Taiwan juniper. You cannot do like Japanese. You cannot compact. You have to open the branch because they need light because the foliage is falling because of the heat. But if you look at the global, way they do it. It looks like Japanese. They make a copy of a copy of a copy. I've never seen no any structure on Earth, and I've been everywhere, in Asia, I mean. And even in America, even in Europe, they make just a copy of a copy. They don't try to change the structures of the tree. It's just a question of dogma. They want to please each other. They don't care about emotions. So to me, when I decided to quit, I tell them also, this is not an art. This is craft. This is gardening. Call it whatever you want, but if you don't want to evolve, and I proved it worked for 20 years, so it's not an art anymore. So I'm not interested because as an artist, I want to do art. I want to create. But I'm also a writer of novels. And you know, when you're a writer, it's cool because you can express yourself. Yes. Nobody can tell you nothing. So I'm going to be edited or not. It's not depend on me. But the most important for me is creation. The Indians try to you've the country of space, right? I've been with Rob to the NASA museum. I was very impressed by the starship, you know. And you're the country of space, so use it. You are the country of the comics superheroes. You are a very creative country. So just use your history. Don't make a Japanese copy. I say that all over the world. You know, why the Taiwanese do a Japanese copy? Why the Chinese do a Japanese copy? Can you imagine that even the Chinese now, their bonsai look Japanese? Yeah. You know? So my point of view is that it's not arrogance to say that there was the first revolution, that when the Chinese monk go to Japan and the Japan appropriate them. Second revolution, the Japanese made new rules. They made new definition of bonsai. Right. I'm the third revolution. I say we can do abstract bonsai because it's not natural. As long as it's artificial, there's no reason to say there's a good way to do bonsai and a bad way to do bonsai.